In this video, I'll show you the ridiculously simple shape for soloing that gives you every note you need and works virtually anywhere on the guitar. When you see someone playing up and down the neck, getting all kinds of different sounds, you'd be forgiven for thinking they're doing something really complicated, but it might be so simple it will shock you. You see, the secret is this, just 4 notes that hold everything together that work all over the neck. It's what I call the Primary Pentatonic Box. Let's start by learning this box, and it's just 12 and 14 on the D string together with 12 and 14 on the G string, so 12, 14, 12, 14. We're in the key of E minor here, and these notes are D, E, G and A. Now you might think these 4 notes could never be enough, but with a few bends and the odd slip to the side, I'm about to show you how this box delivers everything from basic pentatonics to blues to beautiful melodic major scale soloing. But for now, let's just appreciate that these same notes exist in different places all over the neck. D, E, G, A, D, E, G, A, D, E, G, A, and so on. Let's take a super simple lick and watch how many different places we can play it. Now you start to see how this approach really opens up the whole guitar, and later I'll talk more about joining up these positions. But for now, let's see how this simple box can deliver all the sounds we need. Let's just start with the basic pentatonic, and as the pentatonic is a 5-note scale, our 4-note box already gives us 80% of the notes we need. The missing note we need for an E minor pentatonic here is a B, so we've already got D, E, G and A, and this leaves us in the perfect position on this A to bend up a full step to that B. So now we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All 5 notes of the pentatonic without even leaving our box. Now if you want, of course, you could play this B by sliding up to it 2 frets up to play it directly as well. But not only does our little box give us the full pentatonic, it also works in both minor and major keys. So every minor key has a major key with the exact same notes known as the relative major. In the case of E minor, the relative major is G major. Now, as we have an E here in our little box, we can think of this as the minor root note, and by targeting it, it gives us a darker minor sound which fits with E minor. But then we also have a G here, and we can think of this as being the major root note, and by targeting that note, it gives us a brighter major sound, which fits with G major. So let me play a really simple solo to demonstrate. You'll hear the track starts in E minor and then switches up to G major, but we can use this same box throughout. I'll play similar licks in a couple of different positions. Okay, so that's the basic pentatonic nailed. Now let's look at putting some blues feel into this. The first thing we can do is add in the blue note, which we get here. Just 1 fret outside of our box, here on the G string. Now this B flat turns our pentatonic into the blues scale, and we can either play this note directly by just shifting over to it, or we could flick off of it to the note below like that, a kind of cool sound, or we could bend up to it. But however you play it, adding in this note is the first key to getting a bluesy sound. We can also do similar, stepping 1 note outside of our box on the D string, where we find this F, a flat 7, the mixolydian note in G major, which also functions as a kind of blue note. You know, that kind of sound. Just be careful with this one if playing in a minor key. And then lastly, this G here, we can give this a little microtonal bend up for extra blues. Hear how I'm bending it slightly sharp before moving on to the next note. Now this one works great on pretty much any chord except for maybe the G chord itself, where that sharpened G could sound out of tune. So now let me solo again and hear that blues flavour coming through. So now we can do pentatonic, we can do blues. Let's look at using the full 7-note scale for that more beautiful melodic sound. So let's look at what we're missing for the full major scale. I'm thinking about G major, but the notes for E minor are exactly the same. So we've got a G, then an A, then as we saw earlier we can bend this A up a full step to get to a B, G, A, B. Then for the C, we can actually bend this note up yet further again to make it a 1.5 step bend like this. And there's your C. Now this takes a bit of work to get in tune, but once you've got it, it becomes really addictive for getting that sus4 kind of sound and these type of licks. That kind of thing is way more tuneful, more melodic than just using the pentatonic. Now of course, you can shift over to the B, going up 2 frets to the 16th like that, and from there, play a much smaller half-step bend to get that C. That kind of thing. So now in and around our little box, we can play G, A, B and C, and then we've got a D and an E in our box on the string below, so all we need is an F sharp and we'll have every note in the G major scale. Now we could play this F sharp by bending this E up to it, but generally I prefer to slip down on the G string, 1 note below our box and find it there at the 11th fret. Now this note's going to be the major 7th in the key of G, and it adds quite a lot of sophistication to your melody lines. I particularly like bending up half a step from it to the G. You know, that kind of thing. Really sounds really nice and melodic. Back to the track and hear how now we've built up a lot more melodic capability. So that's 3 different tonalities, pentatonic, blues and melodic, all from this one little box. How great is that? So now let's talk about how we join this up across the neck. Let me start by saying it's perfectly valid just to jump between positions as you see fit, and often you'll just want to do that. But wherever we play our 4-note box, if we make a slide up 2 frets, this completes the pentatonic and we generally find another position right under our fingers. If we start on the low E string, we get 3 interconnected positions. For example, starting here at the 10th fret, D, E, G, A, and then slide to the B, complete the pentatonic. We can then move straight onto the D string for D, E, G, A, and then slide up again, complete the pentatonic, and then up to the B string, D, E, G, A, and then you could add that pentatonic note on top as well. So 3 iterations. Then once again, if we start on the A string, we find 2 interconnected positions. So starting here at the 5th fret, we get D, E, G, A, and then slide up to the B. Then we can move straight onto the G string with D, E, G, A. But just notice here, when the box crosses the G and B strings, be aware that there's an offset where we move up 1 fret going onto the B string, just because of the way the B string is tuned. But this is actually quite useful. This is quite a comfortable position because it gives us a couple of nice situations where we can play with 1 finger per fret. So let me play another solo, joining up positions and bringing together all 3 tonalities, pentatonic, blues and melodic. So I hope you can see how simple this approach makes life, but if you're still wondering how to turn this into a solo, then this is the next video for you.